Hi, I'm Yerminna Van Dyken, MD. I'm a surgeon by trade, but my true passion is helping people just like you obtain optimum health by adopting a whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. Today, I just can't wait to have a discussion with you about a teeny-weeny molecule that plays a huge role in our body, a molecule that we make less and less of as we age, and a molecule we can hack and increase our body concentration of no matter what our age is. Also, what's super duper interesting regarding this molecule is that people that eat the standard American diet are definitely not getting enough of it. Many experts believe this deficiency is the cause of many chronic diseases that plague us today, like cardiovascular disease or heart disease, strokes, and dementia. Are you dying to know what this molecule is? No pun intended. Well, this molecule is, drumroll please, nitric oxide. Before we get into the juicy details, I want to talk a little bit about the history because it's pretty fascinating. About 30 years ago, scientists discovered the fact that humans and animals produce nitric oxide. Now, in today's world, over 150,000 papers have been published on the molecule, and a Nobel Prize was awarded to scientists who discovered its role in heart health as a molecular signaling molecule. So what's so special about discovering this compound that would have won someone a Nobel Prize? Well, besides its clinical significance, nitric oxide, once produced, has a half-life of less than 1 second. That means, as a scientist, you have to act fast, faster than 1 second, in order to identify and characterize this molecule before it completely disappears. So how is nitric oxide so important to our overall health? Why do we even care about nitric oxide? In order to discuss this, we have to back up and talk about the endothelium. And on top of that, we have to talk about something called endothelial dysfunction. The endothelium is a thin membrane of cells that lines the inside of the heart and the blood vessels. Endothelial cells, so the cells in the endothelium, release substances that control vascular relaxation and contraction, as well as enzymes that control blood clotting and immune function. One of the substances that these endothelial cells release is, you guessed it, nitric oxide. Before we get to the real-life applications of this, we have to talk a little bit about the biochemistry. What is going on in our bodies at a cellular level? Bear with me for one more moment. Put your science cap on. Let's go. There's two pathways our bodies use to produce nitric oxide. The first involves oxidation of a compound called L-arginine to nitric oxide through a complex series of reactions involving nitric oxide synthase enzymes. This is the pathway that becomes dysfunctional as we age. The second pathway to me is much more interesting. It involves nitrate compounds that we get from our food, and then they interact with our microbiome, which converts it into nitrate compounds and then into nitric oxide. What? Well, it turns out we have specialized bacteria in our mouth that live in the crypts or the folds of our tongue. These bacteria reduce nitrate into nitrite and then finally convert it to nitric oxide. Without these bacteria in the crypts of our tongue, this reaction just doesn't happen. We get no nitric oxide. So, back to the big picture. Somewhere in our life, usually in our 40s or so, we stop being able to easily synthesize nitric oxide via the first pathway. This decrease in endothelial nitric oxide results in endothelial dysfunction. So endothelial dysfunction is when the cells in our blood vessels don't cooperate. They just don't function normally. The concept of endothelial dysfunction has become important in recent years. We now know that endothelial dysfunction is a prerequisite and precedes the development of atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis can result in a heart attack, stroke, and other diseases of the arteries throughout your body. So bottom line, no nitric oxide equals endothelial dysfunction equals heart disease. So, good thing we have an alternate way to supply our bodies with nitric oxide. We still can get nitric oxide via that second pathway by getting nitrates from our food and having healthy bacteria that convert it in our mouth and GI tract. So, to summarize that, as we age, we lose 85% of our ability to make nitric oxide. This happens before we could ever diagnose heart disease. We can prevent a deficiency in nitric oxide by eating food rich in nitrates. Nitrates. By now, if you're smart, you might be saying, liar! I've heard you say in other videos that nitrates are present in meat, and then you go on to say the main reason why meats, especially processed meats, are bad for you. True, meats contain nitrates, mainly as a preservative. The thing is, though, they also contain heme protein, when combined into nitrate, turns it into N-nitroso compounds, which are a carcinogenic substance. Plants, on the other hand, contain antioxidants like vitamin C and other polyphenols that block the formation of nitrosamines. So where can we get healthy nitrates from? I bet you could never guess. Nitrate-rich fruits and vegetables, of course. In short, leafy greens and beets. The amount of nitrate required to see any changes in blood pressure or any improvement in exercise performance is 300 to 400 milligrams. This amount can be easily achieved through a combination of specific high nitrate foods, like spinach, beets, kale, or other green leafy vegetables. Interestingly, though, nitrate content in specific foods can vary depending on where you live. Also interestingly, organically grown vegetables in general have less nitrate than conventionally grown, in some cases up to 10 times less. Here's an example of the huge variation. If you live in Dallas, Texas, you could eat roughly 60 grams of spinach, which is a small salad plate of spinach, and you'd get 300 milligrams of nitrate. Conversely, if you live in Chicago, Illinois, well, you'd have to eat over 450 grams, about 7 times more spinach, to consume the same amount of nitrate. Why such a difference? Well, nitrate assimilation is dependent on soil conditions, time of harvest, amount of fertilizer added, and water availability versus drought. No matter where Americans get their vegetables, research shows that the standard American diet is very deficient in nitrate. The standard American diet will give you anywhere from 40 to 100 milligrams in one day, way lower than the 300 to 400 milligram per day recommendation. In short, we are a nitrate deficient society. Other diets like the DASH diet can provide as much as 1,200 milligrams of nitrate per day. The Mediterranean diet and the Japanese diet, they also provide sufficient nitrate. So let's get back to the sciencey stuff again, to that second pathway, the pathway that involves our tongue microbiome. I just love this part. We eat the nitrate in our leafy green vegetables. Then, the bacteria that live in our tongue folds digest this and convert the nitrate into nitrite. What's super cool, though, is any nitrate that makes it past the mouth by sneaking past those bacteria, it gets rapidly absorbed in the small intestine, it's transported back to the mouth for repeat metabolism. So it's super efficient. It's called the enterosalivary circuit. It's a very efficient way to make sure our body gets enough nitric oxide. What's also really interesting about this is the fact that we need these bacteria. So wiping out the bacteria results in no nitric oxide production. And we see this in real life with the use of antiseptic mouthwashes. Antiseptic mouthwashes can eradicate the oral microbiome. As a result, we're not able to convert nitrate to nitrite. Therefore, we get no nitric oxide. Over 180,000 Americans use mouthwash on a daily basis. We may need to start rethinking that. Additionally, the use of antibiotics can disrupt our oral bacterial populations. There's no doubt antibiotics definitely save lives and they have a role in modern medicine, but they're also vastly overprescribed. So let's wrap it up. How can we get the most nitrates in our diet? Top dietary sources of nitrate are, number one, any guesses? Arugula, 480 milligrams per 100 grams. Then, in descending order, rhubarb, cilantro, butterleaf lettuce, spring greens, basil, beet greens, oak leaf lettuce, Swiss chard, red beets, basically leafy greens and beets. Yum! Well guys, that concludes everything I have for you today. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something awesome about nitrate and nitric oxide, and I hope you learned something valuable and applicable to your individual health journey. I hope you will work to pack more nitrates into your diet every single day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to show us some real support, subscribe. We also love hearing from you, so please comment below with your thoughts, your questions on the material covered, and let us know what health topics you want to learn more about. Until next time, aloha guys.